It started with a survey job in the dead of winter. The result? Watching a friend tear his own jaw apart because a corpse whispered in his ear. Hello everyone, I am Mr. Greencap. This story comes from the archives of a Japanese horror event forum posted by an experienced surveyor. 7 years ago, he drifted into a nightmare he still cannot explain. We will call the surveyor Alex. High altitude, deep winter. The cold was a living thing, waiting for a mistake. Alex had been with his survey company for 6 years. He was a veteran of the Tokyo concrete jungle, but occasionally the job demanded a trek into the deep mountains. The company had a blood rule: never go into the wild with fewer than 3 people. Safety in numbers against bears, landslides, and the things that getting lost can do to a man's mind. But that morning, the third man, an old team veteran, called in sick. Fever of 39 degrees. The team leader frantically dialed 7 different numbers, but no one could fill the slot. Finally, he crushed his cigarette into the ashtray and made a command decision. Just you and Ben. Go, but if anything feels wrong, you turn back. Ben was Alex's junior by 2 years. Tea-colored hair, wire-rimmed glasses, quiet, meticulous. When Alex found him, he was running his fingers over the metal joints of a survey pole, checking for a fraction of a millimeter of looseness. Ben hesitated when he heard it was just the 2 of them. Company rule is 3, he said. Client is screaming, Alex replied. We don't have a choice. They compromised by hiring a local guide, a man named Yamada, living in the village at the base of the mountain. 3,000 yen for a day's work. 4:30 a.m. The Japanese mountains in November are a creature of ice. Alex drove through the pre-dawn dark, the heater blasting against the frosted windshield. At the trailhead, Yamada was waiting. 50 years old, skin like tanned leather, smoking a cigarette next to a battered motorcycle. He wore a faded blue work jacket and a military green vest. Minutes later, Ben arrived. They unloaded the gear. Tripods, theodolites, bundles of red and white ranging poles, and the pocket compass. This wasn't a toy. It was a heavy brass instrument with a glass cover and a 10-centimeter telescope mounted on top. Alex slipped it over his neck. The cold metal against his chest felt grounding, a scientist's talisman. With this, he thought, I can't get lost. He would remember that thought later, in the dark, without the compass. Yamada nodded at their gear, then pointed to his own canvas pack. Rope, knife, first aid, rice balls. The mountain changes fast. Best to be ready. 5:20 a.m. ascent. The snow was deep. Yamada led the way, testing the drifts with a polished wooden staff. The world was a blinding white vacuum. Alex checked the map. 5 survey points along the ridgeline. The first point was easy. The second required a scramble up an icy slope. Ben, terrified of heights, turned pale and had to be hauled up by Yamada's rope. By point 3, it was 2:30 p.m. The wind was picking up. The trees were freezing into jagged sculptures of ice. Yamada looked at the sky. 2 more, then we run. We need to be down by 8. Then the phone rang. A sharp electronic shriek from Yamada's pocket. An old flip phone. He answered it, stepped away to the shelter of a pine tree. His voice dropped low. Alex caught fragments. Fell. Serious. Clinic? Yamada came back, face twisted in apology. His mother had fallen, broken bones. He had to go. Follow the trail. Yamada pointed to a faint depression in the snow leading into the forest. 7 kilometers. Gentle slopes. But listen to me. On the way back, there is a narrow valley mouth. Steep walls. Do not try to climb the sides. You will fall. Stick to the valley floor. He drew a rough map on a page torn from a red plastic notebook, circled a large rock as a landmark, took his pay, and vanished back down the mountain. The silence that followed was heavy. The wind sounded different now, louder. Alex and Ben stood alone in the white expanse. "Should we go on?" Ben asked. Alex looked at the map. "We're halfway. Let's finish this point, do one more quickly, and get out." They reached the fourth station, a bare rock swept clean by the wind. Alex set up the tripod. Ben took a ranging pole and walked toward the target mark. The weather turned. In seconds, the sky went from gray to a bruised charcoal. The clouds dropped lower, suffocating the peaks. The wind shifted, blowing directly into their faces. Ben stopped 30 meters away. "Snow's coming! Hurry!" Alex bent over the compass telescope. The lens was cold. He adjusted the focus knob. The view was a blur of white, then sharpened. He saw Ben, but he saw something else. Ben was wearing a yellow safety helmet, but in the lens, Alex saw a head of black hair. He blinked. Refocused. Standing directly behind Ben, obscured by the trees, was a woman. She wore a thin white shirt dress. Summer fabric, in sub-zero wind. She leaned against a tree trunk, motionless. Alex pulled his eye away from the lens. With the naked eye, he saw Ben. And behind him, just a vague shadow in the trees. He went back to the telescope. She was there, black hair to her shoulders. Snow buried her legs up to her shins. She wasn't looking at Ben. Her head was tilted slightly to the side, like an animal listening for prey. "Done yet?" Ben yelled. The woman moved. She detached herself from the tree and drifted deeper into the woods. Her gait was wrong, too smooth. Her upper body didn't bob or sway. She glided. Alex recorded the data, his hands shaking, and ran to Ben. "There was a woman behind you." Ben laughed nervously. "Don't be stupid. Who wears a dress up here?" But the look on Alex's face killed the laugh. They checked the snow. Ben's boots had left deep holes. The pole had left a mark. Behind him, nothing. Pristine, unbroken snow. Fear is contagious. They packed up in silence. The snow began to fall. First distinct flakes, then a curtain of white static. "Let's go back," Ben said again. "Please." "One more," Alex said, checking his watch. 7:20 p.m. "If we come back tomorrow, it's a whole day wasted. Just one more." A fatal mistake. The fifth point. Ben walked out into the storm with the pole. The yellow of his jacket was swallowed by the gray whirl. He stopped, waved. Alex bent to the telescope. The image jumped and shuddered in the wind. He found Ben's silhouette. And her. She was closer now. 2 meters behind Ben, standing right at his shoulder. She tilted her head back, sniffing the air. Ben stood frozen, rigid. "Ben! Behind you!" Alex screamed. The wind tore the words away. Alex grabbed his flashlight, their emergency signal, and waved it frantically. Ben moved. He turned, slowly, mechanically. He faced the woman. Through the lens, Alex saw the woman raise a pale hand. She gripped the collar of Ben's jacket. She leaned forward, pressing her lips to his ear, whispering. Ben didn't pull away. He stood there, receiving the message. The woman let go. She turned and walked down the slope, plunging effortlessly through the deep snow. Ben dropped the ranging pole. He turned and followed her. He didn't run. He walked with a dragging, heavy step like a sleepwalker. "Ben!" Alex abandoned the gear and sprinted through the snow. He fell, scrambled up, lungs burning. He caught up just as the woman disappeared into the trees. He grabbed Ben's arm, spun him around. "What are you doing? Where are you going?" Ben turned. His eyes were wide, but the pupils were blown, dilated so black they swallowed the iris. They were dead glass, reflecting nothing. He looked through Alex, then he smiled. Not a human smile. The corners of his mouth lifted too evenly, too late, like a puppet whose strings were just pulled. Then his mouth opened. It kept opening, the jaw unhinged, dropping lower than bone should allow. The skin at the corners of his mouth stretched tight, white, and then snap. It tore. Blood ribbons streamed down his chin. A sound rose from his throat. Not words. A wet click. Guk, guk, kur. Like a throat trying to remember how to speak. Ben took a step toward Alex. Alex ran. He didn't run back to the car. Ben was blocking the path to the valley mouth, the only safe way down. Alex ran into the blind forest. Branches whipped his face, slicing skin. He dumped his pack. The brass compass was torn from his neck by a branch, lost in the snow. The talisman was gone. He just ran, driven by primate panic, away from the thing that used to be his friend. Night fell like a hammer. Hours later, legs dead, chest heaving, he stumbled against wood. A hut, a rotting logger's shack. He crashed inside, collapsed against the door. He lit his lighter. The flame revealed a small hell, old sacks, a stone stove full of cold ash, and in the corner, a pile of clothes. Old clothes, faded cotton, rusted buttons, but clean, damp, as if someone had just washed them in the snow. There was no dust on them. There was no dust anywhere. On the stove sat a rough porcelain bowl. Inside, a frozen puck of liquid. Alex built a small fire with twigs from the floor. He huddled by it, listening. The wind died down. Then the footsteps came. Crunch, crunch, soft, deliberate. They stopped at the door. Alex killed the fire. Darkness rushed back in. The door creaked. A pressure applied to the wood. A crack opened. Something was standing there. Alex balled himself into the tightest knot possible in the farthest corner. He couldn't see it, but he could smell it. Not rot, not death. The smell of wet wool, the smell of laundry done by the dead. Drip. A sound from the stove. The ice in the bowl, melted by the brief fire, was dripping. Drip. The thing at the door seemed to listen to the water. Then the footsteps turned. They walked away, fading into the snow. Alex didn't move until dawn. He found his way down the mountain in the morning light. The snow had covered all tracks. No sign of the woman, no sign of Ben. Only deep, untouched snow. The rescue team found the body 3 days later. Not Ben. They found a woman's corpse in the woods, wearing a white summer dress. She had been missing for a year from a town 50 kilometers away. Alex told the police everything. The detective listening was stone-faced. He didn't blink at the mention of the woman appearing. But when Alex mentioned the whisper, the woman breathing into Ben's ear, the detective stopped writing. He asked Alex to repeat that part. 3 times. They knew something. Finally, they shared one detail with Alex that made his blood freeze. The medical examiner found that her eyes were damaged long before she died. She was completely blind. She hadn't been watching Ben. She had been listening for him. Ben was never found. Sometimes Alex still sees that face in his nightmares. The polite puppet smile, the jaw dropping, the skin tearing. This is the rule of the high places. If you see something that doesn't belong, don't look closer. And if it calls your name, don't answer. I am Mr. Greencap. Good night.